All right, well, let's get started. You guys separate your chairs a little bit because I got you confused since you're wearing exactly the same thing.
He's copying me.
Well, whoever's copying, it's impressive. All right, let me touch on Denver a little bit. Very good team, Denver. I was encouraged by our progress during the course of 1 week from week 1 to week 2. Obviously, didn't get any results that we would hope to get, but in the quality of our game, I thought it improved a great deal. We saw lots of areas that got better, that we played with more pace, which is what I was expecting. I thought our penalty kill was way better than it was. We held off a pretty good power play to being 0 for the weekend. Areas that we still have to improve on a great deal. Our power play is an area that we haven't been able to generate much so far in 4 games, in spite of scoring a goal on the power play on Friday night. I still think hitting the net and getting more traffic to the net needs to be a big priority for our team to create. I think we've had our share of scoring chances, but we haven't put enough pucks on net to create the kind of danger that we should be creating. So we've got to have a greater emphasis and better execution in that area. Lots of guys got lots of opportunity to play, so that was a much different dynamic than the week before, where we had so much special teams play. There wasn't as much special teams play, which allowed us to play more players, and I think that was positive. And the guys got into the rhythm better and got more experience. So that's all well and good. This week, obviously, we have 1 game with Penn State, or I'm sorry, with Princeton, and it's their season opener. So we expect them to come in here playing real hard. They're a team that works hard, competes hard. They're a big team. I think they have real strong goaltending, so they work from their goal out, and I think he's one of their, if not their top player, certainly one of the top players on their team and one of the top goalies in their league. So we don't know quite what to expect yet, since we haven't seen their team at all this year. But we know that they'll be anxious to get their season going. So with that, one of you two guys in the blue sweaters and khaki pants want to lead us off here?
Tom, what do you do this week as far as focusing in practice on just trying to generate more offense and just get more oomph in your forward play?
We're going to spend more time. I thought one of the areas that we struggled offensively against Denver, and it's a real strength for their team, is we need to transition the puck with possession more, both out of our zone and in the neutral zone. And they're a hard team to do that against, but we have to get better at it, because we did a lot of dumping the puck in, and I'd prefer not to dump the puck in. When you dump it in, even in the best case scenario, your percentages of getting it back are pretty low. Now, there is a time that you have to do that, but ideally I'd love to have a more dynamic transition game where you're entering the zone with speed and with possession. And so we'll spend a fair bit of time, not only this week but going forward, trying to really make that a point of emphasis to get much better. The other thing is we have to do a better job as we do enter the zone, and when we do have possession in the zone, of creating more net front presence and more shots on net. Our shots, especially our high quality shots, are missing the net too often, and that's just not a good characteristic. So we talk about it constantly, but we have to execute better. It's not surprising that most goals are scored when there's traffic in front of the net, on direct shots or on redirects, or to create rebounds. And so we've got to create a higher number of those instances to improve our probability to score.
Coach, you played both of your goaltenders again last weekend. What did you see out of both Ed Mitty and John Leatherman, and who do you think may possibly get the start in net, seeing as you only have 1 game this weekend?
Well, I thought both of them played well, so we'll use this week's practice to determine that on Thursday. One of those two will get to start in net on Friday. How's that for a Tuesday? Yeah, but I think both of them played real well. I think both of them came out of the weekend with a lot more confidence than they went into the weekend. I think our team as a whole grew in confidence in that area as well. So I think that's all positive. So I think it's all good. I think that's all a real positive step. And now I want to see them both, keep growing. And we'll see who plays Friday. But I do, again, want to continue to get them both experience over the next several weeks.
Tom, it's been nearly 4 weeks since your team set foot on the ice and nothing to show for the fruits of their labor. How badly do you need a victory at this point?
You'd like to get a win. I think winning's important. It makes you feel way better. So you want to get rewarded for it. And yet, again, a win is the byproduct of having good performance. And so we're really focused on our performance. I think if we forget to focus on that and you're just focused on winning, it creates, a level of stress and you don't do all the little things that go into winning. So I don't want to lie and pretend that winning's not really important and would be good for our team right now because we need one. And yet at the same time, I think it's really important we're focused on making our game better to give us the best chance to win.
You don't accept, I assume, that you're playing so many young players that you can't compete at the highest level?
No. I'm realistic that it requires experience, that you're going to go through growing pains. I get all that. And that's why I'm very encouraged because I'm seeing our team progress. I'm seeing it every day. Like, we had a really good practice yesterday. We played a really good team this past weekend. And I think Lake Superior is going to prove to be a better team than many people probably anticipated too. But I think it's important that we understand we are going to have our ups and downs. We are going to go through certain growing pains when you're playing so many young players. But no, we're in a results-oriented business, and we're working towards that. But we want to make sure that we go about it in a manner that gives us the best chance to have success long term. And that's what we're trying to do.
Coach, obviously you wanted to get the win last weekend. Unfortunately, you couldn't. But kind of looking at the locker room, has the confidence of the younger guys, especially, kind of gone up? Especially, playing against and with a top 10 team in the country.
I think confidence is growing. I thought we took a step in that direction. But back to the previous question, certainly you want to get rewarded for progress as well, or performance. And so, the next step for us is to get over that hump and start developing a game that gets us some wins and some winning results, which will, again, continue to help foster that confidence. But I do see confidence growing, without a doubt.
Coach, you look at some of the results of the other Big Ten teams. Ohio State's undefeated. Penn State went on the road and went undefeated against the number 3 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. How important is it for your team to really grow in the non-conference portion of your schedule before what could be a very tough conference slate for you guys?
Yeah, I think the conference schedule will be very difficult, and that's why I think it's so important for us to improve our game each week so we're ready for that when it comes. I mean, we open our conference season with Minnesota, and certainly they have a very good team. They're playing a very strong non-conference schedule. I think some of the teams, have more experience, and that's one of the challenges, as I look back and kind of evaluate our scheduling, is, we play a lot of non-conference games in the front end of the schedule, and especially when you have a newer team with so many new players, it doesn't really give you much chance to kind of ease into that because everything's front-loaded. You don't have any of those non-conference games in the middle or the end of your season. And so for a young team to kind of grow into itself, you don't have that chance for your non-conference season. And then you look at your Big Ten season, and your conference RPI is always going to be 500, right, because you're beating each other up. So that makes it tougher for you. If I had a do-over, I'd kind of assess that a little bit. But I think, we knew coming into the season, the Big Ten, especially some teams, had a lot of players returning, which is going to make them have high expectations and get off to good starts, hopefully. And that will help our league, and yet we have to be prepared for that when our conference play starts in December. Because Minnesota is one of those teams, too.
If you could do it over again, would you maybe want to have the schedules mesh a little bit with a good even mix of conference and non-conference games throughout the course of the season, like most conferences
We've
do?
actually talked about that with the Big Ten, and I think in the future we are looking at models that will start the Big Ten season a little earlier. And that's one of the reasons, because if you look at the past several years, there's been, for some teams more than others, and every team's going to go through their cycles. But when you do have a younger team, and yet with the importance of the non-conference season as it impacts your whole league and the success thereof and the RPI and so on, I think it would be a benefit to kind of spread some of that non-conference stuff out. It's not as easy as you'd think because you're so reliant on other leagues, but I know that our league is looking at that as an option, especially since we have to go through kind of a new scheduling cycle when Notre Dame's added next year.
Tom, going back to the offense for a second, are you seeing potential in the lines that you have sort of set and used last weekend?
Yeah, I think the lines are growing. Again, the first weekend was not a great evaluation time for us. The Friday night game was just all special teams, and Saturday night we stood around and watched the game, thinking too much. And I thought last week we did a better job of just kind of focusing on playing hard and playing with tempo. And I think guys are starting to understand from a system standpoint and make improvements. But if there's something to give, I'd rather have that give than playing hard and playing fast. So I thought that was a step forward. We've tried to keep the lines together as much as we can. And I've seen some growth in some areas. I thought, when you have some inexperience, you're going to have those ups and downs too, especially against good teams. I thought the wood line with Sanford and Milan was really effective this weekend. I thought they played with a lot of energy and they played with speed. They made some good things happen. I thought Kordorenko's line with Appleton and Hiroshi showed some things that they can do, and obviously we're looking for a higher level of consistency as those two younger guys in particular gain experience. I think Mason Appleton's really taken his game up a notch. I think he's a pretty impactful player. Cox and Ebbing are guys that they'll log lots of minutes and they're playing hard. And then I thought especially on Saturday night, Haig had a real good game. Yeah, and we're working Saliba into the penalty kill a little bit, and Sanford into the penalty kill a little bit. So we're still doing, a fair bit of experimentation, and even with the defense, moving some people around, putting them in different situations, see who plays well with who. So there's still a lot to learn in that regard, but I am seeing daily progress.
Is your defense healthy now? Where the guys that set out last week, were they basically healthy scratches and not just injured?
Yes.
Without having seen any of these four games, it sure appears as though you played a lot better last weekend than on the first weekend. Did you have to crack the whip at all, or do the players, was Lake Superior's weekend just kind of a wake-up call to some guys about how hard and well you have to play at this level?
I don't know if it was that so much as I think so many guys were. I went back to when I was a freshman and I came in here, and I came from an environment that was very unstructured and it was very simple. And when I came here, it was like, wow, the game. I didn't realize the game could be so complex. And I think we had so much newness, from how you forecheck, how you play in the neutral zone, what do we do offensively, how we defend, what do you do as a penalty killer, what do we expectations on the power play, how do we change our lines. It's like, whoa. And literally, I think everybody's mind was just kind of racing. We're standing around watching things happen, and before you knew it, we're out of the game. We never really caught any momentum. The best part of that first weekend was probably a 12 to 14 minute period in the second period when we were just playing. We had some tempo getting up and down the ice. There weren't penalties constantly, and we got in a little bit of a rhythm. So going into last weekend, we knew we were going to play a team that was real fast. I really didn't feel in week one that represented the pace that our team could play. And so we just kind of dialed it back in terms of saying, let's play fast and let's play hard, let's compete. And we didn't focus a ton on our systems of play. And I thought we were better served by that. We'll continue with that method, even though guys will continue to gain experience as they settle in. But I don't think it was because guys weren't ready and eager and hungry. I just think that we were thinking too much and not just playing. Yeah, we've tried to prioritize. You know, as a coach, you kind of get caught up in wanting to make sure you've got all your bases covered, every situation. Well, that's a lot in a short period of time to do. It's not like we had 4 weeks of preparation time and 2 or 3 exhibition games in between, and you can make all those tweaks. And so maybe we were trying to force feed too much too soon, knowing that we are going to make mistakes. But let's prioritize what areas we can tolerate and maybe overcome mistakes, as opposed to playing so slow that you're just too easy to play against. So that was the adjustment we made. I think we made progress in our game. Like I mentioned, I thought there was lots of areas of our game we did make progress. Our goaltending being one. I thought we played with more pace. I liked our battle level. I thought we were really good on face-off, especially Saturday night. Our penalty kill was much, much improved. Our penalty kill the week before, between our 2 special teams, took us out of those games. Took us out of the games. We gave up too many shorthanded goals, or power play goals against, and we generated nothing on the power play but 1 in 2 nights. So I thought we made a lot of gains in those areas. Power play is still an area we've got to get much better.
Tom, from what I remember, you know Princeton's coach Ron Fogarty pretty well, and you're pretty good friends with him. How did that relationship develop?
Well, actually, when I was with the CCHA, Fogs was, I first met him, he was with Bowling Green as an assistant coach.
Oh, yeah,
and then a friend of mine, who's the president of Adrian College, Jeff Docking, he actually hired Fogs to be the first head coach of their program. So I kind of got to know him a little bit more in dealing with him when he was at Adrian, trying to help them get started and that sort of thing. So that's how I got to know him, and he did an awesome job, you know, establishing that program, and then he got the opportunity out here in Princeton, and you know, I'm sure he'll do a good job there.
Is he a native of Michigan? Is he from this area?
No, I want to say he's Canadian, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
He went to I can't remember what school. I thought he's an Ivy graduate.
But he started with the Bowling Green situation.
That's where I met him first.
Yeah.
I don't know what his track was before that time, but he was an assistant at BG when I first met him. Okay. All right. Now, are you guys going to coordinate tomorrow's wardrobe, or you do that in a group email, or?